welcome to another episode of V4 Veganism. We are here today with Stewart Mitchell. He is a vegan and also author of the book Kayla the Vegan and Greatest Rapper Alive, a memoir recipe book inspired by the power of conscious hip-hop lyrics. Stewart, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So before we talk about the books, I have to ask you how you discovered veganism or how you made your way. What was your journey?
Well, I worked in a supermarket for, since my teenage years. I would look at how they process the food, where we getting it from, how do we have so much of it? And I would start to question these things, and that led me to research, where we get our food from, factory farm and stuff like that. And that kind of like planted the seeds for what was to become. And also, it was the music that I was listening to. A lot of conscious hip hop, and a lot of them would talk about plant-based living or just being vegetarian or vegan. And that to me it was always something that was admirable. Some people hear veganism and they have they feel some weird kind of way about it. But with me, it was like, that's something very admirable. Like they're not eating animals. It seems more peaceful, and that's what kind of like led me to it. But one day I was sitting at home and I'm eating dinner, and there's like a piece of chicken on the plate, and I'm looking at it, and it doesn't look like chicken anymore. It looks like an animal. Yeah. And I said, I can't do this anymore. And I ate everything around it, left it. The next day I was on Google researching things about nutrition, like where to get protein and, everything else.
And how old were you?
When I made the transition, I was 30, going on 31.
Okay.
I'm 39 now, so it's, been a couple of years.
So are your children vegan?
Unfortunately, no. I would like for them to be. I try to influence them as much as I can. I write books. I try to get them to read it. I keep certain vegan ingredients around. Like my daughter loves when I make wraps. They drink almond milk, but they're not fully vegan. It would be great if they were, but I wouldn't force them on it, and then they start to hate me because of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there is definitely this, unfortunate stigma. I mean, there are a lot of unfortunate stigmas that get put on veganism that are just not true. One of them that really bothers me actually is this, like, vegan is a white a privileged white person thing. Right. What does that make you feel when you hear things like that?
I think it's ridiculous, first of all. Second of all, it has nothing to do with the privilege. We abuse our privilege as human beings by taking advantage of these animals and, just calling it dinner or calling it a fabric. And it's not a white privilege. It's a misconception. I don't agree with it at all. I think it got that stigma because it's looked at as like something that people with money, can afford to do. Right. And people don't understand how affordable veganism is. It's a lot healthier, it's affordable. But and that's why, we're here to break those negative stereotypes. It's not just a white elitist diet. It's for everybody. I'm black, obviously.
Are you? No.
But what gave it away? But I just wanted to say that in the black community, we can't afford not to be vegan on so many levels. I mean, we come from a very dark history in this country. We are my ancestors were slaves. So that means that they were owned and treated as a property. We were treated like how they treat cows, forcibly impregnated, taken advantage of, used until they couldn't use us anymore. So, I think about that, and I know a lot of people, especially like black people, are gonna look at this and they're gonna be upset with my words. But hopefully, you consider what I say, and it can change your mind. It comes from a place of love. It doesn't come from a dark place or a negative place. We have to somehow consider the lives of animals, because they're born and raised for one purpose: to meet consumer needs. but also, you know, to make money for, you know, big business. On the other hand, veganism is important in the Black community because we have the highest rate of just like high blood pressure, diabetes, and all these other diseases that are killing us. And we all know where it's coming from. It's coming from the foods we eat. It's coming from a bad culture, a bad tradition of just eating the wrong foods for decades. We have to change that. We have to become more plant-based. Your health depends on it. And, you know, we live in communities that, you know, everything that is bad for us is within arm's reach. You know, there's, you know, fried chicken restaurants, there's Chinese restaurants, there's liquor stores. Everything that destroys us mentally and physically is within arm's reach. There's no vegetable markets where we live at. We have to go out and find these places. But you start to understand that this is by design as well. Like, these places exist for a reason. It's to work against us. Veganism is not as expensive as people might make it seem to be. And a lot of times that's propaganda that's put out there by companies that still want your dollar.
Besides your immediate family, do other people in your family sort of embrace what you're being vegan, or do they have issues with it?
To me, they tell me they admire me for it. I'm like, well, you know, you can admire me for it, but you can also, you know, do this with me. It's not as hard as you think it is, you know. But it's not something that's looked down upon, but it's not something that's embraced either.
Right.
So,
yeah.
you know, and I have to admit, it's kind of frustrating because, you know, you can tell me how much you admire me for doing these things, but you're not, you know, putting the effort in to do it for yourself or for your family.
Yeah.
You know, because to embrace veganism is to embrace a change in your health, a change in your community, your environment, and the way we treat animals. So, you know, I would think that people want to make a positive change in the way we treat each other and the environment, and veganism is the best thing for it.
So I love this cover. I love this illustration. Who did the illustration?
A young lady named Anansa Hamilton.
Okay. And so what is Kayla the Vegan about?
Kayla the Vegan is a story about a young girl that moves from Brooklyn to Atlanta with her family. She starts a new school. She's the only vegan in the school, and you know, the kids don't know how to accept that. They don't know what it is. They think it's weird, and she gets, you know, kind of picked on for it. Kayla goes through the same things that you and I would go through, or any other, you know, vegan and you know, predominantly like meat-eating community would go through. You know, it's just worse because she's a child, and you know, kids could be they hurt more without really knowing they do. And this is what she goes through. She meets a young girl in the school that kind of embraces her as a friend, and she starts to teach her what veganism is, and through her she's able to teach others, you know, about respect for animal, respect for yourself through what we put in our bodies, you know, and just, you know, embracing the idea of peace in the community.
Yeah, I love this so much. And what you were saying, this is for ages, like you'd say like maybe middle school age kids?
Right, yeah, like 10 years old, 11 years old.
Yeah.
You know, like 6th grade level reading. It's an easy read. It's even for adults. Like even for adults that still have misconceptions or still have doubts, it's a good read for you as well. I made it simple for everybody to understand. Not too over the top, but just, you know, basic, you know, level stuff that everybody can understand. The respect for animals, you know, like people have pets and they love their cats and dogs, but they'll sit down and eat, you know, chickens, cows, and pigs. But, you know, what we're failing to realize that all of these animals have the same feelings and emotions that we have. You know, one is not different than the other. I mean, species aside, we all have emotions. That's what connects us as earthlings. And Kayla explains that, you know, in the most simplest form.
What inspired you to write this?
It's gonna sound funny. It has nothing to do with veganism at all. I had lost a job. I was sitting at home and I was doing nothing. I had a little part-time job, you know, that I worked in the evenings, but I was watching a documentary with Michael Moore. I don't remember which one it was, but he said I lost my job and I was sitting at home doing nothing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book. And I said, whoa, that's me. I'm sitting at home doing nothing. I might as well write a book too. So that's where the idea came from. And I said, you know what? I want to do something that's simple, something that everybody can understand, especially children. And the reason I targeted children is because they are our future. A lot of adults you talk to, you won't get through to them. They're stuck in their ways. They're settled. So with children, their minds are like sponges. They're still very, inquisitive about the world around them. So I made it easy for them to understand. And like I said, it's also easy for adults. So if you're a parent and you're buying this book for your child, it's also a good read for you as well, because it explains veganism, like I said, and it's just, in the base level. It's all about respect for yourself. It's all about respect for animals.
So this other book, Greatest Rapper Alive, what inspired this book?
Greatest Rapper Alive was a hashtag. I would prepare raps, and I would take pictures of them because all vegans take pictures of their food.
Yeah.
And I would post it on Instagram, and I would use the hashtag Greatest Rapper Alive, with the W, WRAPPER, and I just started fooling around with it. And in my mind, I started to call myself the greatest rapper alive. And that's a term used in the hip hop world in regards to who's the best rapper at the time. So-and-so is the greatest rapper alive. It's Jay-Z, it's Nas, it's this one, it's Biggie, it's that one, it's Tupac. Who's the greatest rapper alive? And I said, you know what? I started to think of all the lyrics I heard as a child that referenced plant-based eating. And it just kind of like blended into each other, raps and hip hop, greatest rapper alive. And I said, if I can put a book together that can, kind of cater to the hip hop community and show them more about plant-based eating, just to get a couple more people off of eating animals, and that would be great. And I can use the lyrics that I heard as a child in the book to further explain, the importance of eating healthy and eating plant-based.
So I don't know, I feel like a lot of people who are fans of some of the artists that you reference in this book somehow completely miss that they are vegan. I guess they didn't listen to those songs for some reason. But who are some of the artists that you reference?
Common is in there, KRS-One, Wu-Tang Clan, Master Killer from Wu-Tang Clan, Dead Prez, just to name a few. And there's also a couple of my friends who do music, TK the Artist and Diesel Auto. I reference them in the book because they make songs about eating plant-based, about veganism, and I think that's very important. I think that's what we need in hip-hop. We hear so much negativity from hip-hop. I wanted to shed light on the positive things that we get out of hip-hop and, use that as a focal point for the book and also inspire people to eat more healthier.
Yeah. Well, there's another misconception that like veganism is a new thing. Like KRS-One has been talking about not eating animals since the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course we could go even further back to philosophers that were talking about it, in the 17th century, talking about eating, plants. Right. But, for people to say in 2018, I had someone tell me that I went vegan because it was like the cool thing to do. And I'm like, what? Veganism has been around forever. It's just, we didn't necessarily call it that, but.
Well, veganism is the cool thing to do.
It is. It is.
But you should not become vegan just because it's the cool thing to do. And you're right. It's an old concept. The term was phrased in the 40s, but there have been vegans long before that. Eating plant-based is not a new concept. A lot of, meat eating culture came out of necessity from people who, didn't live in areas where they can grow their own vegetables or cultivate the land or had any knowledge on how to do these things. So, they would live how the animals lived. They would eat other animals and they would wear their skin to keep warm. But in 2018, where we don't have to do these things anymore, is really no need for it. Why are we still doing it? But like you were saying, it's not a new concept. It's our natural way of living, and I think that through culture and tradition, we kind of lose sight of that, because we're indoctrinated with these beliefs that you need meat for protein, and you need dairy for protein and calcium and all these other things. And it's like plants give you everything you need to sustain healthy living, and we need to go back to that. But as far as people going vegan because it's cool, I think what ultimately is what's going to happen is these people are going to fall by the wayside, because they really did not grasp the concept or the real idea behind what veganism is. So if you don't embrace veganism because of animal rights or because of your health, you're going to fall by the wayside, and you're going to, go back into old bad habits. And I think it's very important, and that's why I write these books, and that's why we have activists in the streets, bringing attention to why veganism is important, why we fight for animal rights, and I think that information is needed in order for a person to stay vegan. We don't want people to go vegan just because it's cool. We want you to stay vegan because there are literally lives at stake, billions every year at stake, and for no reason at all, except for, corporate gain, except for monetary gain. And, we have to make it so that it's not just a cool thing, that it's, we're doing it for a greater cause. It starts at the grassroots level. It starts with the people, and the government is going to keep supporting the meat industry. They're going to keep giving them money so you can be able to afford, chicken sandwiches on the dollar menu. And this is why people think veganism is expensive. You look at the price of like a fruit salad, and then you say to yourself, well, I can get more for my money at Popeyes, because they have the $5 box, or McDonald's has the dollar menus. That's still a thing? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
probably.
The point that I'm getting at is that they make it affordable. So you have to vote with your dollar. You have to speak, with your economics, and you still write to, Congress. You still write to, people that are creating these laws, and you let them know that, you're unhappy. So if we start showing them that we prefer more plant-based food than meat and dairy, they're ultimately gonna go to where the money is. You don't see it if you're not paying attention, but what's happening is that this industry is slowly falling apart. So, the government is gonna have to get on board, and it's gonna have to cater to the plant-based community now. And that's a great thing, because a lot of people are getting off meat, whether their reasoning is they wanna, lose weight or just be more healthier, and that's great. But it's still a step in the right direction, and we're starting to see that. So maybe we'll start to see them subsidize more, or give more money to farmers for vegetables, as opposed to the meat industry and the dairy industry, who gets tons of money. It's ridiculous. But hopefully from the grassroots level, we'll be able to switch that dynamic around, and they will have to do what we want them to do. People don't understand the power you have in numbers. Is when you have a group of people that are saying, no, we don't want this anymore, we want change, this is what we want, and you can get those numbers to multiply. Corporations are gonna bend to your will, because ultimately they're just in business to make money. That's it. Their concern is not health, regardless of what they tell you. Their concern is to make money. And if plant-based is where the money is, that's where they're gonna go. And that's really it. And I think it's important that if whatever it is you do, whatever talent you have, this young lady sings, I write books, whatever it is you do, you should contribute to the change you want to see in the world. Be a voice, be active, and I think that's the only way we can change, is that you have to influence more people. And, you will see the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah. So where can we get these books? I definitely want to pick these up.
From the trunk of my car. No, they're actually available on Amazon. They're available on Barnes & Noble's website as well. But Amazon is I mean, unless you live in Brooklyn and I can, stop by and just drop them off to you, I would like to sell the books at a more reasonable price, but, Amazon is kind of forcing my hand a bit. That's why I order the books from them, and if I can sell it to you at a cheaper price, I'd rather do that than, Amazon being the middleman and they're taking money and, shame on you, Amazon. In regards to companies that are vegan, that are publishers, news editors, writers, it would be great if you can get in tune and in touch with people at the grassroots level as well. I know there's a lot of entities out there that would love to speak to Miley Cyrus because she's Miley Cyrus, but there's people at grassroots level that's trying to build a brand. They're trying to change the world. They might not have the celebrity status now, but in a couple of years, you're going to remember that person and you're going to wish that you were on board then. And the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is the division within the vegan community. And it's unfortunate to see. We're supposed to be in this for the same goal, the same common cause. And the beautiful thing is that we're doing it from different perspectives, but we're supposed to come together as a collective. I made that rhyme and I wasn't even trying. But I'm the greatest rapper alive. But we need to stop with the division. We need to support each other's events. We need to support each other's causes, and because we need to put ego aside. We need to put personal issue aside. This is not for us. This is for every other species that's suffering because of us. It's for the animals. This is what veganism is, and when Donald Watson coined that term, that's what he had in mind. He didn't care about your dietary choices. He didn't care about your fitness or anything else. He cared about refraining from animals as a commodity, whether we're wearing them, we're eating them, using them as entertainment or anything else. The point is that we're trying to destroy that world. So we need to come together, embrace each other, show more unity within the community. Again, I'm rhyming and it's just coming to me. But we need to show more unity within the community. That should be like a slogan for us now. And support each other. You might have a problem with this guy in whatever organization he's with, or this one in their organization, but at the end of the day, it's all about the animals, and we need to put that first and foremost and remember that and just support each other, because this is bigger than us. We're just a vessel for this information. It's bigger than us. Future generations are going to look at what we're doing. They're going to emulate this. We want to give them the right I'm at a loss for words now. You want to give them the right example. Become more unified within the community. And that's really it. What I'm trying to promote is just respect for all life. My account is primarily about veganism. Sometimes I shill my merchandise on there, but it's all about just changing people's perspective on how they view other species. And hopefully I'm making a change out there. And hopefully you are too.
Hopefully. I think we are.
I think we are.
Thank you so much for joining us, Stewart. We really, really appreciate it. Guys, make sure to click the link below and subscribe. Go pick up these books, Kayla the Vegan, Greatest Rapper Alive, and we will see you on the next episode.